Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Shannon, I am the Wisdom Wench, and this week I am going to go over the approach of a herbalist when it comes to cold and flu. So I am a herbalist in training, and I was meant to make a video last week and I ended up in bed with the flu all week, so that worked as a catalyst for this. So this week I thought I would go over a little bit about the kind of slower herbalist approach to treating cold and flu. Obviously every herbalist is going to do this completely differently. This is just one way that I treat and how I approach my own cold and flu. So sit down, relax, grab a herbal tea, cup of coffee, and let's go over a little bit about cold and flu. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm still a little bit sick. I can definitely hear it in my voice and in my chest, and so that's why I probably sound a little bit odd or look a little bit paler than normal. When I was a lot younger, but still old enough to be working, I get the flu every year, and I would go and fill myself up on every painkiller, cold and flu medicine, cough syrup that you could get in any local pharmacist. I would get as much as I could, and I would just stuff myself full of all of these medicines in the hopes it would make me feel a little bit better. And I would do this so that I could keep going to work, so that I wouldn't have to miss out on work for having the flu. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel better, and there's nothing wrong with doing it like that. But I soon came to realise that year after year, a flu that I probably could have got rid of in a few days was staying for a very long time because I wasn't treating my body to fight off the flu. I was just suppressing all of the symptoms so that I could keep pushing myself to keep working. It wasn't healthy, and I suffered in the long term because I would keep a flu going for weeks, if not months, just so that I could keep going to work. I would keep myself sick for longer than was necessary by doing it like this. It wasn't healthy, it wasn't sustainable. So when I started taking the slower approach to medicine, and I was dipping into medicine in my own way, I began with understanding. The first part of this video that we are about to get into is all about why our body responds to the flu the way it does. It's a short introduction, but it really does help with empathy for yourself, understanding the symptoms and how to treat them when we know what our body is actually doing to try and help us. Symptoms of the flu are an immune response. It's our body fighting off a virus. All of those really uncomfortable symptoms that we're experiencing are the side effects of our body's natural processes when fighting this virus. The understanding brings empathy, so that we can actually look after ourselves and really marvel at what our body's doing to keep us safe. In my approach as a herbalist, we don't fight the symptoms, we support the systems already in place that are adept at doing what they need to do to look after us. We just give it a little bit of a helping hand. So, part one of this video, we're going to go into understanding what is our body doing and why is it doing it. And then in part two, I'll go over the bits and pieces I use for a slower, more natural approach to treatment. So, in understanding, I'm going to go over each symptom in its most basic terms, because you could honestly do an entire video on the body's process and how to treat every individual symptom. Because this condition, the flu, is a mixture of a lot of symptoms, we're just going to touch on some of the main ones, and then we'll work on treating everything as a whole. So let's go over the first one, fever. Fever and chills are a really common side effect of the flu, but why do we actually get a fever? What is happening inside of us to get a fever? We get the fever and then the chills because our body is stimulating its immune response. It's raising our temperature to try and create an inhospitable environment for the bacteria, the virus, to live. So while it's really uncomfortable and while we're sweating and while fever in itself can get quite dangerous and there is a point where you do need to seek immediate medical attention, our body has created this increase in temperature to try and kill off the thing that is attacking us internally. Cough is your body trying to protect your lungs. A cough is an automatic response. We do it without thinking. We do it when there is something in our lungs that the body is trying to expel. There are different types of cough, and there's loads of reasons that you can have a cough, but our cough is a reflex because something is in or is irritating our lungs and our airways. So there are two main types of cough. We're going to look at the dry cough and the mucus cough. The dry cough is often caused by irritation and inflammation, especially around the airways. What we're looking for is that deep chesty cough, the one that produces mucus. Is also called a productive cough. So what we want is that mucusy cough. That is your body as a whole, lungs and other systems working together to expel the byproduct of the virus, which is the mucus or the phlegm, from your system. It's a very good place to be. So while it sounds awful and can feel awful, it is a good position to be in because you are on your way to getting rid of the virus. Once your cough is gone, especially the productive cough, you can be left with, I think it's called a post-virus cough. That's what I have at the moment, and I definitely can feel it, but it's when you go back to the dry cough, normally caused by the inflammation and irritation of getting rid of all the mucus and being sick. It can last for a few weeks. As long as it doesn't last more than 3, it's not too much of a problem. It's just a little bit of an irritant. But you can use herbs and herbal remedies to help soothe the throat in particular while your body heals it. Inflammation is the result of multiple processes in the body happening together. So multiple attacks are happening on the invading infection at once. So you've got the flu virus there, and the body is making a bunch of cells, some of which are really specialized, and they all are trying to attack the invading infection. But these cells need to be able to communicate with each other. And when the body is producing this many cells, it needs a communication system to tell them what to do, especially when multiple different systems are creating these cells in tandem. So the cells communicate with each other because the body produces proteins called cytokines. And it's producing so many of these cytokines so that all of these cells can talk that we get the side effects of inflammation or a runny nose or fever. All those really uncomfortable symptoms is because the body is producing this many of this little protein so that the cells know where to go. You can get headaches when you have the flu for many, many reasons. It could be the sinus pressure from having a blocked nose, but it can also be a byproduct of this cytokine communication system. Just as a note, I'm not a cell biologist. I'm learning a lot about this at the moment, and that is my current level of understanding. If I've got anything wrong, please someone correct me. I'm always looking to learn. Throw it in the comments. Then the final big symptom that we all seem to get is fatigue. And when you have the understanding of everything our body is doing to try and kill this virus, the fatigue suddenly makes a lot more sense. We have so many cells fighting this virus, and we've got so many different things happening in the body that the fatigue that we find borderline really annoying makes a lot of sense, and we can approach it with a lot more empathy. So through this understanding of what our body is actually doing, why we're getting all of these symptoms, why it's like this, we can approach treatment with understanding, and sometimes it's a little bit easier to care for ourselves when we understand why we need to, when we know what the body is doing for us. So taking that little bit of rest is the absolute least it can ask for. So the first point of call when I'm looking after myself is basic self-care. So for me, that is my bare minimum. That is making sure that I wash. Because I have a fever, I'm sweating a lot, and the body is also trying to eliminate the virus through any means necessary, which means it's coming through all these waste products are coming through your skin. So making sure I wash in whatever form I'm able to. If I can have a full shower, fantastic. If I can't, washing at the sink is enough, but making sure that I'm washing and cleaning my skin, especially because the sweat and the waste that is coming out. Increasing water or herbal tea intake, and on the other hand of reducing caffeine. Caffeine is a diuretic and could help promote inflammation, which is what we don't want, and the water or herbal tea consumption is helping to replace all of the waters that we're losing through sweat, through coughing. It also helps to thin the mucus in that chesty cough stage. So the more water you've got, the easier it is to actually bring up the mucus. So we want to be drinking a lot more water. Another little one, but for me is really important when I'm sick, is to brush my hair. I know how it sounds, but I have very long hair. And if I leave it for a few days, it's going to get matted and I'm just going to feel like shit. So there's no other way to put that. I am. So brushing my hair, it might seem so simple, it might seem so small, but can make a world of difference for me when I'm sick. The second thing is very gentle movement. I don't mean yoga, Pilates or anything even remotely close to a workout. Not in the slightest. I mean, every couple hours, if I'm walking to the bathroom or I'm walking to the kitchen, I will just spend 10 minutes and just pace, do a few very, very slow, very gentle laps. The main reason for that is we want to push the blood from our calves, especially if we're laying down for long periods of time, all the way back up to our heart. We want that blood flow happening again. That will help reduce the inflammation in our joints, especially because for me, inflammation is bad in my back and my knees when I'm sick, and because I'll sleep quite curled up as well, that makes it even worse. So just every few hours, taking 10 minutes of really slow pacing helps a lot to get that blood flowing again, and it will help you move through the inflammation a lot quicker. So the first of the herbal remedies I use is my fire cider. I've got 2 videos where I make fire cider. You can take it as a preventative, but when I'm sick, because I made mine with a lot of vitamin C and immune boosting properties, I upped the dose of it. I think I tripled my dose of fire cider for the space of 3 days because I knew I needed that help to my immune system. I needed the support that I didn't have otherwise. So I really did up my fire cider intake. That helped me, and I don't recommend doing it for a long period of time because of the vinegar in it. It can upset your stomach a little bit. So I upped my dose for 3 days and I haven't taken it since. I will probably go back onto it as a preventative when I'm a little bit better. In terms of herbs, things like eucalyptus and mint in steams are quite useful for clearing the airways and clearing the lungs. There's an old form of steaming that I always did when I was young and my family would get me to do, where you put really hot water in a bowl with a bunch of herbs and you drape a towel over your head and you just kind of breathe in the steam. I don't always recommend this because firstly it's boiling water. You can scald yourself on the steam as well, and if you're too weak to handle boiling water, if you're too shaky, you risk burns. So steaming in other ways, like if you are able to have a shower hanging, mint or eucalyptus in the shower can help. Some people use essential oils in hot water and let that diffuse around the room. That does work for me, but you need to be really, really careful before you start doing that. There are a lot of risks, and burning is a risk, especially when you're sick. Marshmallow root is a go-to for me when I have the flu. Marshmallow root has quite a long history of being used for respiratory conditions. For me, I mostly use it. It's really, really soothing for the throat, and because I will cough a lot, and especially after the mucousy cough stage, I will get quite a lot of pain in my throat. So I would like to use marshmallow root for that. My favourite way to prepare it is in a decoction, which is when the root is cut up very small and it's put in a pan with boiling water, and on a very low heat it's allowed to keep boiling for about 10 minutes until the water starts to thicken ever so slightly and go a tiny bit syrupy. The decoction itself will last in a jar in the fridge for about 3 days. So you can make quite a good amount of it. I like to add it to teas, but you can use it fresh in a teapot then with a number of other herbs and just keep sipping on that through the day. But marshmallow root, it's really easy to drink, it's really smooth. And things like elderberry, elderflower, lemon balm and chamomile and yarrow all have been used for fevers. In the past you can use them to help support a fever. I personally really like elderflower, so I could make a decoction of marshmallow root, then I'd put in elderflower and chamomile to help with fever and help relax, anti-inflammation and sleep. I just use those 3 simple herbs together, and that helps very naturally support the body while it's doing what it needs to do. I do recommend that if you are currently well, do a little bit of research into some herbs that support cold and flu and have them ready on hand. Something really, really simple. You don't need to make a big prepped thing beforehand. I actually had an idea to make a cough syrup before I got sick, and then I got sick. I didn't have it on hand, so I didn't make it. I just used the root. So having a few dried herbs, my top 3 are marshmallow root, elderflower and chamomile for when I'm sick. They can do a world of good, and you can do so much with just those 3, and having them in a tea is enough as well. You don't need to make any big fancy things, just use what you have on hand. With herbs, fresh air. If you can't go outside, that's okay. If the weather's really awful and you want nothing more than to be inside, that's okay. But crack open a window a little bit, just get some fresh air in the room. If you're coughing a lot, it's really easy for the air around you to get very stagnant. Having fresh air can help regulate your body temperature, it can help you relax a lot easier, it can help you breathe a little bit better. So if you can get fresh air into your space. When I was sick, wrapped up really warm in the mornings with like slippers and dressing gowns. I got all comfy and I went and just stood outside for 10 minutes. And I was warm, I didn't feel the cold, but I really felt my lungs get a lot clearer just by standing outside for 10 minutes in the morning. It did help me feel a lot better as I was going through the process of healing. Rest in whatever form you're able to. So rest is going to look different for a lot of people, and you might also have responsibilities that mean you can't rest in the same way, but as long as you are giving the body some form of downtime, it will heal faster than if you are constantly on the move. There is a whole conversation to be had around this. I started spiraling a little bit when I wrote this because there's a whole conversation that could be had about lack of community care and a very intense individualization and capitalism, but we're not doing that right now. We had to reel that one back in. There is nuance to this topic. If you have kids, if you have to work. I went in for 2 days last week while I was sick. I should not have been there. I was not well, and it prolonged me being sick before I caved and took a day off. I had a lot of the thoughts of, I need to be there. This isn't going to function without me. It would have. I just stayed in and made myself more ill. So there is nuance to the topic of rest, and I fully understand that. If you can take the time off, ask for help, and do. If you can't, find pockets of rest. If you're on a job where you're generally on your feet all day, is there any way that you can do duties that involve you sitting a little bit more? That is going to help. And there are a bunch of preventative measures like the flu jab, which I'd also planned to get, and then I got sick, so I need to go get the flu jab. Keeping your immune system strong over winter, making sure you're getting lots of fresh fruit and vegetables into your diet to help boost that is going to help you a lot. Another small thing that I use, and not everyone's going to find this one helpful, but I love it, is my acupressure mat. It's a mat with lots of little spikes on it, and I use this to help reduce inflammation, especially in my back. I can deal with most symptoms for things, but as soon as I get back pain, I become a little baby and I just want to cry. I can't stand back pain. My acupressure mat really does help, and while I was ill, I would lay on my mat and just have like a big blanket covering me and do that for 20 minutes, and it would help ease the back pain so I would then sleep a little bit better. I love my acupressure mat, I use it a lot, but it did help reduce the inflammation, especially in my hips, knees and lower back. So if you've got one of them, do have a go of using it when you are sick. It feels really uncomfortable for the first 5 minutes, but after that, it really did help me sleep. So I would recommend that. But that is completely individual choice. So there are a few ways that I look after myself in a slower, more meaningful way, and how I ensure that I am taking care of my body and moving slowly. The flu is annoying. It is so annoying, and it forced me to stop for a week, and I desperately needed it. I had a very, very big hectic schedule, and for a few days I needed to do nothing. I couldn't really move, and I was in a lot of pain and I was really uncomfortable, but now I'm taking that time to be a little bit slower, and I've recognised that's what I needed. So thank you all for being here with me today, and thank you all for your patience, because I know I didn't post a video last week and just didn't say anything about it. I was just really sick. I was just so sick. So if you have any tried and true recipes for you for dealing with the cold or flu, pop them in the comments below so that we can have a thread of all of these like homebrew cold and flu remedies that everyone uses. Obviously, I've given you a load of slower, more herbal things that I use, but they don't need to be used in isolation. You can use them alongside conventional medicine in whatever way works for you. Towards the end of the flu, I did take painkillers for my headache because oh my God, I just needed it to stop. So it's okay to use things in conjunction. You could use cold and flu over-the-counter medicines in conjunction with practices that help, like the rest and acupressure mats and movement to move things through your body quicker. There is no right or wrong way to look after your health, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Whatever you do for you is what's best for you. With that, I'm gonna go have another cup of tea and lie down again, because I'm still ill. And it's the reason I look like this and sound like this. Thank you all for being here with me today, and I will hopefully see you again soon. Have a lovely evening, and do put your remedies in the comments so that we can all share. Thank you so much. Bye. So, don't let capitalism win. That's not the message I can leave with this on. If you have cold and flu remedies that are tried and true for you, pop them in the description. No, I write the description, you don't write the description.